So Jeff, can you see it?
I can see it.
Are you ready to roll?
I am ready to roll.
Let's do it. Jeff from GoFormz, everybody.
Thank you very much. By the way, there are some phenomenal young companies up here. I got to tell you, this is a great company to be in.
Yes.
So my name is Jeff Fildy. I'm the CEO of GoFormz and co-founder. Now I can see some people out there in the audience. You'll see I'm actually showing a mobile app here. Mobility's big. So basically, what is GoFormz? GoFormz is a mobile data management platform for the enterprise. That's what our focus is. Our core focus is on the actual data. We help any organization, big or small, more effectively manage and acquire that data from that acquisition point at the point of presence where their mobile employee might be, all the way through to the storage, the management of that data. We even provide an analytics engine, so we take that data and make it more meaningful and actionable as information. And we have an API that allows us to share that with third-party apps or back-end systems as well. The mobile data management market is huge, and it's growing at about 66% per year for the next 5 years, according to estimates. So big market, big challenges out there. What we decided to do as we were focusing on how do we help these organizations manage their data more effectively, one of the big issues is the user interface for the folks in the field. So how do we make it much more easy for folks in the field who are used to something like this, use something like this? Well, one of the things we do is we focus on. I was the original problem child, and clearly, the good news is I'm not the developer. There we go. Okay, we're good. Okay, so the big thing is, what do we do with this? Well, with GoFormz, one of our core value points is our user interface. We take this and we make it look like this. Surprise, surprise, it looks exactly like that. And one of the keys that we found was, in our research, was let's take the user interface that people have been using for 2 weeks or 20 years and make it look exactly the same, smell exactly the same on a device. So instead of it being on a cardboard clipboard, it's on an electronic device like a tablet or a smartphone, for example. Now, one of the things we do is instead of just taking this and making it an electronic form on a piece of paper, or a piece of paper on an electronic form, we start to add some value and add some smarts to that form. So it becomes a smart form. So for example, in the work order in the upper right, I could go ahead and tap on that, and it would automatically just bring up if I could tap on that properly. There we go. It'll bring up an actual pre-populated work order number to segment that from any of the other work orders that are up there. I could go ahead and do a database dip, for example, on this particular form. What is it with my demos these days? Okay, so I could go ahead and select, for example, database dip, select a potential client here, for example. I can go ahead and start to fill out that information. I could go ahead and add a PO number, for example. I could go ahead and start to add additional information, like we have tables and calculations here, so I could go ahead and select a supplier part number, for example, like 1-3, go ahead and select that, and I could go ahead and select the quantity of 3, for example, and we automate all the calculations on there. So for example, I could also grab a discount level of, let's say, platinum, and apply a discount. Again, all the calculations are immediately done, and made it much more easy to configure. Instead of having to calculate this and do it by hand on the page, it's done automatically on the device. Not only can we do it for calculations, regular numbers, we can go ahead and do it for time, for example. So I could go ahead and, let's say I started at this time in the AM and worked all night until, let's say, 11 p.m., get the calculations in there for overtime, etc. But we also, not only do we make it smart, but we also go ahead and do things on paper forms that were not easy to do before. For example, grab a location field, for example. I could go ahead and grab a map here. I could set it to a satellite map. Let me zoom in and add that particular map to my form. I could go ahead and, with the camera, let's go ahead and take a picture of the audience that is going to be almost impossible to see. And I'm going to go ahead and use that on my form. I could go ahead and add sketches, for example. So I could go ahead and add a particular tool here. go ahead and add that to my form. Or if I wanted to, I could even go ahead and capture one of those photos, for example. Go ahead and capture another photo over here. Grab that. Go ahead and use that, but I may want to go ahead and annotate that, for example. So I could go ahead and grab a box here, grab that, rotate it, add some text if I needed to, for example, and do a variety of different things here. So I could go ahead and say test.
Jeff?
Yep. Oh, we're done. Okay, my apologies. Okay, so any questions?
Time for questions. Good stuff, Jeff.
Hi. It looks like Adobe Acrobat does a lot of this stuff already. What distinguishes you from a product like that?
So one of the core functionalities, including all of the different other data field types we have, is everybody shares an account, for example. So I could publish these templates to anyone in my account, and every piece of information from every form collected by everyone in my account is aggregated into a database. So from that information, every piece of information you have on here is aggregated into a database, so I can put it through our analytics engine and start to derive actual information from that, as opposed to having another, instead of having 20 or 200 pieces of paper, I have 200 forms, PDF forms. I actually have access to all of that data, which I can then export, I can run reports on, I can do a variety of different things. So it's not just about the format, it's not about the paper and converting it to electronic format, it's about the core data, the core value of that information.
What happens if somebody doesn't have an email?
If they don't have email, what?
Well, you're creating a work order, and I'm just wondering if you developed a solution, because I'm thinking of about somebody who doesn't have an email, which is baby boomers, they don't check email. So if you're going to give them a work order for something, or
well, the work order actually appears on the mobile device. So this is actually a mobile. There's a mobile app and there's a web backend, right? So on the mobile app is where I can capture that information. I've got my forms, and instead of one form, I've got 25 forms. It doesn't matter how many forms I have. These templates, I can fill them out as many times as I need to. I don't need email to do that. I don't even need to have an internet connection to fill out the forms on the device. It automatically syncs with the backend when it detects an internet connection at some point.
yeah, I was seeing a place for the customer to sign, I think, at the bottom. That was in the Reddit area. So if they wanted a copy and they didn't have email, so then you would just say, hey, I'll mail it to you later.
Well, yeah, you can email it from it, or you could hand it out. You could literally print it right from the device. If they needed a copy, you could literally print it
So
right
you
from
can
the
print
device.
off
Oh,
that,
absolutely.
yeah.
You can print it, you can download it, you can transfer it to someone else in your organization. From workload perspective, you could have it automatically synced with your Box account, for example, and have the forms already deposited in your Box account. So you can, again, the whole concept is it's from the acquisition of the data on a device like this all the way through to the actual analytics engine and the reporting on the back end.
Nice. What else?
Yes. Anyone? Yeah.
It looks like you're pulling some information, part numbers, customers.
Yep.
So how does that get populated? Are you integrating with the on-premise ERP system they're
Yep.
using?
Yeah. So again, I think everybody heard the question. So we have two ways of managing that. So again, we had calculations. We got conditional logic that you built right into your form that you couldn't do on something like this. But in terms of data, there's a couple of different ways we manage data sources. One is a simple data source that you could upload, simple CSV file, upload it, and now it's available in your account. It could be available on any of your forms, like a customer list, for example. So if you're a small organization, you got a small customer list, it's very simple to get that set up on your device. Just upload it and it's available. But we do have a full API that you could integrate with a back-end system. We actually have customers that front-end Salesforce.com, for example, or front-end NetSuite with this because it's much more effective and intuitive to capture the information and then populate the pieces of information that they need into Salesforce.com through the API. And it's just a simple web services API. Does that answer your question? Okay. Yes.
Yeah, so you have a device cost, you have training costs, you have the network cost potentially if you're on the internet. How do you justify that ROI from a simple just piece of pencil or like a pencil and a paper?
Well, so there's a lot of hidden. First of all, on a piece of pencil and paper, we're a freemium service, right? So if you're one person, one form template, you can fill it out as many times as you want. It doesn't cost a dime. If you are a more pro version, pro user, where you've got multiple form templates, multiple users in your account, it's $10 a user per month. You practically couldn't buy the paper and the ink for that to print that out for $10 a user per month. As far as, and that doesn't go to any of the hidden costs with what happens when I need a form later on. What happens when I want to analyze the data? How much does it cost to input that data back into a system if I'm filling it out on here? The whole point is I'm providing an easier way to create that content at the point of acquisition, and then I don't have to track it. It's all stored in your web account. All the data is stored. If I need to pull up a form, I can find it at any time. So it's much more efficient from that perspective, which is really where all the cost of managing the paper is anyway. For example, in the medical space, we heard just capturing a signature and an intake form cost $5. So how many of those would they do in a day, and how many of those would they do in a month? And that's just to track the paper. That's for the paper trail.
Cool. Jeff, it looks like we're out of time.
Okay, great.
Hey, before you go, are you looking for help?
What's that?
Are you looking for help?
We are looking for help. We are not hiring today, but we will be hiring within the next few months. So we're looking for developer help, looking for sales, marketing help, et cetera.
Good
All right?
deal.
Thanks,
All right,
Mike.
GoFormz,
And
everybody.
thanks to Pete for giving me this.